Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Theo Hikmat here. Friends call me Jason Zelda. I'm going to be presenting to you a interview that was done. I was interviewed by two programs actually, and we're going to be presenting to you the second interview that I did, which is with a gentleman by the name of Matt Christopher, who has a program called My Brothers and Sisters Keepers. He's out of Australia. He's an ex-JW. As you know, I've never been a JW, but he had heard about my videos and wanted to interview me to talk to me about the videos, and that's what I'm going to be presenting to you today. His program is aired on a network called the Six Screens Network with a gentleman by the name of Rick Farron. This is Rick Farron here. Rick Farron has a program called the Six Screens of the Watchtower. He's been doing this for more than 15 years. He's an ex-JW who has spent a long time exposing the Jehovah's Witness group and trying to warn people about the group. His program airs every Saturday night. You can check with him. You'll find his videos on his Facebook page, and it will be under Rick Farron on Facebook. Just search for Rick Farron on Facebook, and when you add him to your friends list, when he does his Six Screens of the Watchtower program, which is live every Saturday night, you'll get a notification on your Facebook that the video is up and you can be able to watch. It's also a call-in program where you can call in and talk to him about various different things. And he, on a weekly basis, just exposes the Watchtower with the latest news of what's going on. So if that's the kind of thing you're into, his program is a program that will give you information about that. So I know this interview is long enough. I'm not going to put a long introduction on the front of it. I just wanted to give you guys a little introduction as to the interview that you're going to be hearing. This is going to be me with Matt Christopher. During the interview, a lady by the name of Linda James is going to call in and also add a little bit to the interview as well. So I hope you all enjoy it, and I'll see you guys down the road.
Very excited about having any time with Jason. So, yeah, really looking forward to that. So I'm just signing in now. Okay. Hopefully you'll be able to see me. If not, I'll be able to speak to you on the cell phone.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. We'll try to get you in. You're
okay,
signing
I'm
in now.
Coming in. Yep.
Okay, here you come. Coming in for landing here. The runway's clear.
The wheels are coming down on the tarmac, so...
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't see anybody yet, but I am, at least I can hear you. We're doing well, and the most important thing is I can...
All right, well, what we're going to do is if we can't get you in here on that, we're going to just have you talk to Jason.
I just said hello, so...
Hello, sir. How are you?
He's on with you. Yeah, take it away.
Oh, wonderful. How are you? Thank you, Rick. Well, you know, nothing's going to hold us back here on the Six Screen, so the tyranny of technology, Jason. So, yes, welcome. First of all, welcome to everyone who joins into my program. It's been an incredible privilege, as Rick said, for the last 6 months to be able to be part of the Six Screens and disseminating the news about the downfall of Watchtower and exposing it. So I always say thank you to Rick for that. It's been an amazing platform, and I'm very grateful. So I always say that. Thank you, Rick. I'm very grateful. Jason, welcome to my program. I view it as a great privilege, and many people, ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, have been really impressed by your, really your insightful and, may I say, neutral position on Jehovah's Witnesses. Jason, what we find is that many people, or most people, that have never been associated with the Watchtower don't really have an understanding of what we've gone through. And I can see, can you see me? That's hopefully you can see me now. Most people that are not Jehovah's Witnesses have no idea of the nuances and the machinations of Watchtower. And your videos, Jason, have been very insightful because they're very clear. They are factual, and what the cut through is, you're not coming from a standpoint of someone that has a bias at all. It's just literally looking at facts, and your assessment of the behaviour of Watchtower is it's world class, and we really thank you, the ex-Jehovah's Witness community. We thank you, Jason, for the many, many videos over a long period of time that has really added to our campaign against Watchtower. So, Jason, I just want to start off, that's my preamble. From a personal note, thank you very much and welcome to my program. I hope we find you well.
Thank you, sir, and I appreciate the invitation and the kind words as well. I'm thankful to people to take the time to watch the videos that I've put together, and I really hope I'm helping people out. I really am.
Thank you, Jason. The video that really struck me, and I know you're a very busy person and you don't have very much time, so I'd just really like to get to the nuts and bolts of what I believe is probably the most decisive video that you've made, which goes to not just the unethical behaviour of Watchtower, but also illegal behaviour that affects hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, and that was their behaviour in Russia. And I'd really like you to, if you can, just take us back through what you discovered by their behaviour with the letter writing campaign and the impact that had on the Russian people, number one, and then subsequently I'd like to also add in what I knew as a Jehovah's Witness as to a rather malicious campaign by Watchtower, and also adding supplementary to your findings. So if you just can, just run through again for those who are not familiar, what did you find Jehovah's Witnesses did in Russia re their letter writing campaign to Putin and the other executives there in Russia, and the impact? If you could just walk us through that, Jason, I'd really love for you to tell us your findings again.
Well, the weapon that the Watchtower would tend to use against governments is the letter writing campaign. They've been doing this since the days of Rutherford. Rutherford had done this to the German government. Same thing. And the way the letter writing campaign works, on the surface, it sounds innocent. People just writing letters to various world leaders in order to express their, disapproval to something that's going on. And if there's 20 letters that arrives at a location, that's one thing. But the Watchtower's letter writing campaign is different. The way the post office is supposed to work is you mail a letter, it goes to the post office, it's processed, and it's delivered. It's a smooth operating machine. But when the letter writing campaign of the Watchtower kicks in, there are letters by the millions that are being sent to a handful or less of addresses, all being sent at the same time. The people who these letters are addressed to do not want these letters. They never ask for the letters. Therefore, they don't receive the letters. They reject the letters, and they're sent back to the post office. Now the post office starts getting clogged up because the Jehovah's Witness group boasts itself to be 8 million strong. And the members of the group are told that the leadership speaks for God. So if the leaders tell them to do something, they're required to do it because they believe obeying the leaders is the equivalent of obeying God. So if the leaders say, you write a letter to this address, the majority of them is going to do it. And if you have millions of people all writing to the same address, but the receiver on the other end doesn't want the mail, then that mail ends up piling up in the post office. And the average post office is not designed to hold millions and millions and millions of envelopes of mail that's never going to be read and never going to be delivered on top of the regular mail that comes in. It is a weapon that is used to bog down the post office and to bog down the infrastructure of these countries when the Jehovah's Witness leaders do this. This is what Rutherford did against Germany. This is what the Jehovah's Witnesses did against Russia about 20 years ago. When they did this to Russia, Russia didn't punish them right away. They investigated them. They wanted to find out, who is this group? Why did they do this?
Yes.
When they looked into them, they discovered 3 things, mainly. Number 1, they discovered that the Jehovah's Witness group destroys families. Now, this is their words, not mine.
Yes, yes.
Okay? They discovered that the Jehovah's Witness group destroys families. They destroy families through their shunning policies.
Yes.
It is a destructive policy that they put on people that either you do what they say or they're going to punish you with this. And all the members know about it. The second thing that the Russian government found is that they spread, again, their words, hatred of other people. Because their religion teaches that there's a paradise coming to the earth, but in order for the Jehovah's Witnesses to have their paradise, everybody else who's not a Jehovah's Witness must die. They got to be killed off at their Armageddon. And even if you are a Jehovah's Witness, if you are not faithful enough, if you're not loyal enough, they tell their members, you're going to die too. The Russian government says this is extreme.
Yes.
And then the third
Jason,
thing
was... Sorry, pardon me, make the third thing. I have a supplementary question. No, please, the third thing. Yes, please, Jason.
Yeah, the third thing was the blood transfusion rule. They said the blood transfusion rule goes against their laws. If a doctor has the opportunity to save your life, that doctor should be able to save your life. But when you have a religion that steps in and says, no, 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 if you get a blood transfusion, you're going to die at Armageddon, that's extreme, according to the Russian government. And this is based upon these things. We're labeling this group as an extremist group. The ball was then handed to the courts as to what we're going to do about this group. And you would think if the Jehovah's Witnesses were this peaceful, kind, loving, godly organization that the leadership claims, you would think that they would be on their best behavior, that they would try to show the government that they don't mean them any harm, the whole 9 yards. But that's not what they did. A couple of weeks before the courts were to give their ruling on the Jehovah's Witnesses as to whether they're going to be banned or punished, the Jehovah's Witness leaders did it again. But this time, with their letter writing campaign, they decided they were going to up the ante. On the video that I have on YouTube, it's called The Real Reasons Jehovah's Witnesses Were Banned.
That's correct.
It's from my Hidden from Jehovah's Witness video series. What you'll find is the actual audio of one of the Jehovah's Witness leaders talking about this letter writing campaign that they did only weeks before the court was to rule on their case. And this Jehovah's Witness leader is bragging about how heavy the mail is going to be, how much mail it's going to be, that you stacked it all on top of each other, how high it would be, how many airplanes it would take to deliver it, the whole 9 yards. And they said they know there's not enough room to hold all this. They know there's not enough airplanes to deliver all this. They knew it was going to cause disruption in Russia, and that's what they wanted.
Yes.
What I found
Jason,
is this.
Sorry, Jason. I just, if I may, because I know, just if I may, on this, because I think just this, if you can talk about this, because you've mentioned this before, but I just, especially when we have non-Jehovah's Witnesses that listen to us, if you may, I jotted down 3 things which you've spoken about before, and many people don't understand. You've spoken about, there's 3 issues. At the post office, and you've touched on this, so I'd just like to get a little bit, this is for non-Jehovah's Witnesses. When you shut down the post office, and you've spoken about this, can you talk on 3 things? Getting medical reports, that's number 1. Secondly, communications on wills and estates, that's number 2. And number 3, which is really going to get you into trouble, is non-compliance to government authority. So they send you out a letter saying, Mr. Zelda, your business must be renewed. Most of it in Russia is done through the post, which, a letter. It doesn't come to you. Now, if you can, just for non-Jehovah's Witnesses here, could you just speak on what you found in terms of medical reports not being able to get to people, wills and estates which affect, someone died. So how do you, these things have a timeline to respond, and also the government correspondence. I know you've spoken before, just for our non-Jehovah's Witness listeners, just so they get the gravitas of what it actually means for millions and millions of letters to literally stop the postal service in Moscow, right, major international hub, actually not functioning. Would you, just for our non-Jehovah's Witness friends, just mention, if you can, with your research, what the impact of this has been on those what I would call civilian functions of a postal service, Jason. If you could just touch on that, I think that's so important if you can, Jason.
Okay, when the Jehovah's Witness leaders do these letter writing campaigns, they want to do the maximum amount of damage. They don't care who they hurt. Because as far as they're concerned, if the people are not Jehovah's Witnesses, they don't care about them. They're waiting for them to die at Armageddon. They don't care about them. So when they do their letter writing campaign, let's say you have medicine, and your medicine must arrive on time.
Yes.
All of a sudden, the post office is flooded with millions. And I mean, if you listen to what the Jehovah's Witness leader had said, he told them, don't just send one letter, send at least 4 or 5 or more.
That's correct. Yep.
And then he told them, fill the envelopes. He said, take paper and you fold it and you fold it and you fold it. And you can only fold it but so many times, and you can't fold it anymore. And he talked about how it can't be compressed anymore. He wants the envelopes big and fat so that they can't be compressed, so that it takes up the maximum amount of space.
Wow.
And imagine now, you're working at the post office, you're used to the regular amount of mail coming in, and then overnight, boom, 100,000, 200,000, 500,000 letters show up, addressed to Vladimir Putin. Do you think he's going to read 500,000 letters? Do you think he's going to open up 500,000 envelopes that are full of empty pieces of paper that have been folded over?
No, sir. No.
People who needed their medicine on time were not going to get their medicine on time.
No.
People who had legal documents that needed to arrive on time were not able to get their documents. People who are needing things delivered right away, all of a sudden, not everybody has the high-tech post offices like America does.
No.
And the average post office building only has a certain number of employees there. They're not used to this overflow of mail just coming in, and all of a sudden they can't deliver. They got nowhere to put it. Where are you going to stack it? Where are you going to put it? And it just keeps coming in, and it keeps coming in, and it keeps coming in. You can't get your mail because the Jehovah's Witnesses just clogged the whole thing up. And it may take days or weeks as they're trying to sort through all the mail to try to find the real mail that's going to be delivered and to separate it from the stuff that Jehovah's Witnesses were sending.
Absolutely.
And this is the kind of thing that the leadership of the Jehovah's Witnesses wanted. This is their way of flexing their muscle. They're trying to get their way within a particular country. The country don't want to do what the Jehovah's Witnesses say. Okay, fine. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to have our people just clog up your postal system.
That's correct.
As a way of flexing their muscle. And it's time that somebody, now they knew, by the way, that Russia would have to respond to this. Because this isn't the first time they did this to Russia. This was the second time they did this to Russia. And Russia's like, wait a minute. We got to do something about this group, because whenever they don't get their way, they shut down our infrastructure.
That's correct. Yep.
And here's another thing I want to touch on.
Please do.
The Jehovah's Witness Watchtower organization, many people believe that they left the United Nations in the early 2000s when they got discovered by the Guardian magazine. I think early 2000s, the United Nations released a list of their members, and lo and behold, Watchtower Bible and Tract Society was on the list. And the very next day after the Guardian came out with their article, the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society resigns. But I told people in one of my videos, part of my Hidden from Jehovah's Witness series, that the Watchtower organization goes by a whole bunch of different names. And I think I quoted about 17 different names. And that was just the one I find.
Yeah.
So even though the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society left, the Jehovah's Witness group didn't leave. They stayed in under the name the European Association of Jehovah's Christian Witnesses. They're still there today under that name. And they petitioned the United Nations on basically a yearly basis, and this is what they're wanting. They're claiming Jehovah's Witnesses are being denied the ability to practice their religion in this country or that country. They're claiming kingdom halls are getting burnt down in this country or that country. They're claiming Jehovah's Witnesses are getting beat up here and there. And they're asking for, in some cases, police protection, special privileges it appears they want. And this brought back something that I remembered from the past. I was listening to Six Screens right before your show, and a gentleman called up talking about me. And he had mentioned about Laurie McGregor. And I remember something that had happened with Laurie McGregor. She left the Jehovah's Witnesses in 1975. She was there for 15 years. She was about as faithful as you could be to the group, and they turned on her. And when she came out, she became one of the first XJW trailblazers. He used the word Watchtower trailblazer. No, it's XJW trailblazer. She came out as one of the first XJW trailblazers who blazed the path for all these others that are out here doing YouTube videos, and they don't even know her name. She was invited to Christian churches, Christian radio programs, and everything to tell her story, and she exposed so much, they wanted to find a way to shut her up. Because she's from Canada, they have something like hate crimes laws up there. That if you speak out against somebody's religion, it's the equivalent of infringing on their rights.
Yes.
Somebody told them about Laurie. And from what I understand, the government of Canada approached Laurie and told her, you cannot be preaching that Jesus is the only way. You have to teach that all the religions are the same and that they're all worshiping the same God, or we're going to shut you down. And to her credit, she told me, you're just going to shut me down because I'm not turning my back on Jesus. And they shut her down.
Right.
Now, this appears to be the power that the Watchtower is trying to get. If they can get the governments of the world to sign an agreement, or some kind of religious rights agreement, that speaking out against somebody's religion is the equivalent of a hate crime, overnight the XJW community will be wiped out.
Yes.
YouTube will erase all your videos. Google will erase all your websites. They've already shown they're compliant. Look at what they do in China. The Google you have in China is not the same Google you have in America, because there are certain websites you can't even visit in China. They've already shown they will take down sites. And when I saw this...
Sorry. Yeah, sorry, Jason. Please continue. Yep.
I'll make this brief. When I saw this maneuver behind the scenes to try to get these special privileges, it's like they needed to have a status of being a persecuted religious group in order to get sympathy. And if they can get the sympathy, then they can use that as a way of saying to these governments in the UN, we need your help. Could you guys please help us? There's people out there that are attacking us. And if the governments fall for it, they would wipe out the XJW community overnight. And when I saw this, I said, you know what? Somebody needs to say something.
Yes.
And at first I wasn't gonna make a video, because I didn't think anybody would care. As far as they're concerned, Russia banning Jehovah's Witnesses was old news. But I says, somebody needs to hear the other side, because the only side people are is the Watchtower side. So that's why I put together the video, and I'm just happy that people watched it. And I'm sorry I cried in the video, but this is I care about these people. I care.
Yes.
Maybe I care too much, but it's just one of those things where I want people to come to Jesus. I want them to come out of these mind control cults that will steal from you your life. They'll steal your money. They'll steal your time. They'll steal your youth. And I want them to come to Jesus where there's freedom.
Jason, I think that's extraordinary, because I'll tell you why. Because when you look, see, the thing is, what you bring to the table is very different often from us as former Jehovah's Witnesses. I mean, we have, like, for instance, I've been shunned from my family, okay? And many of us have been disfellowshipped or shunned. We've been beaten with a really big stick, and the emotions are raw. And we often look at Watchtower, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but we look at it from an emotional response. This is what's happened to me, these great emotional injustices. But just to go back, this is really important stuff, is Watchtower, and I'll just add a little bit to what you said about the UN. Many years ago, I was told by a Jehovah's Witness elder from London that the UN actually sponsored and paid for their missionaries. They have a school, an internal school for Jehovah's Witness missionaries called Gilead, and the certificates that they have are paid for or sponsored by the United Nations. Now, when I heard that, I was like, what on earth? Like, this is, like, I was flabbergasted. Now, this is the point. The organisation is divided into two parts. Number one, the rank and file who are under the spell of doctrine, to put it that way. And then you have those who are machine men and machine women who are in control of a multi-billion-dollar corporation. In real terms, they're the wealthiest corporation in the world. Not in total, they're not bigger than JP Morgan. But what I mean is they really don't have any liabilities. They don't pay anybody. So if I donate $100 to Watchtower, it doesn't go through 5 sets of hands. It actually, that $100 goes literally into their bank account, when every other corporation, they have to pay, the legal department, HR, actuarial people, accountants, lawyers. And by the time the JP Morgan, whoever gets X amount of dollars, they'd be lucky to get, 25 cents in the dollar. That's probably too much. Jehovah's Witnesses, it's 1 for 1. So when they build a Kingdom Hall, is, for instance, from purely business point of view, is they get most of the material donated for free or at trade cost. All of the material, so all of the labour is for free. So your $1 million, $1 million US probably builds somewhere to, $3 to $4 million worth of construction anywhere else. So that means that a Jehovah's Witness $1 million in the bank is actually, in retail terms, is $5 million. So, for instance, they sold $4 billion with a B, $4 billion worth of property in the last 18 months. If you actually put that out by 5 times, you're up to, let's just say round figures, somewhere up around 20 to 30 billion worth of assets. That's putting you up with, JP Morgan sort of people. Nobody's got that much, So the point that I'm making on this is, when you have an organisation who in commercial terms is worth about 100 billion, maybe more, probably more, of pure profit, when they turn their attention to a country and you have disturbance, literal, it's like they've dropped a nuclear bomb on Russia, where people that need medical treatment in terms of referrals can't get it. That means people die. That's your mum, your dad, your babcha and yaya, whatever it is. They die because, as you know, as I know, and you would know, is they send you a letter and it says, Mr. Zelda, Mr. Christopher, come for your scans on May the 5th. If you don't get that correspondence and it's 2 months late, you have to wait another 6 months, or you might be dead by then. So the medical, that is virtually manslaughter, because, if someone doesn't get their scans for cancer, you can't wait 6 or 8 months later to book in again. The wills in a state, as you know, is there is only a window for people to say, I would like to put my hand up and apply for something. I want to oppose the way a division of a state. If you don't get that for 6 to 8 months, or whatever it happens to be, even 4 months, that's lost money to the community, to your family. That is nothing short of instilling terror. Government things, a person might be behind and this might be their last notice from the government. You don't receive it. Suddenly they're closing in on your business. And let's be honest, in Putin's Russia, you really don't want to be foul of the government. So that means people have their businesses closed down. When you look at this, Jason, from a completely non-emotional point of view, if Exxon did this, or BP did this, or JP Morgan did this, or Bank of America did this, or Australia's biggest company, BHP, our mining, if they did that, they would be taken to to the court of arbitration, and they would be fined billions and billions and billions, and they would drag the CEOs by the nose to apologise. But yet, what does this corporation do? It acts in the most egregious, inhuman way with impunity. And just to round up on this, in Australia, they've been trying this bait and switch approach, which is they've gone to the government and they want to establish a Bill of Rights. In Australia, we do not have a Bill of Rights. We don't have one, okay? Even though we're under common law. And they go there, this is Watchtower, and they say, you know what? We're just like Hasidic Jews. We're just the same. And you're like, no, you're not. Like, I don't see any member of the Jewish community doing what you just spoke about, which is terrorizing. We don't need to let off a bomb. This is the best weapon humanly possible. It's like switching off the power source. If you do that, people in intensive care in the hospitals die, don't they, Jason? Look, whoops, you cut communication. Whoops, no, that's it. Businesses go under within 48 hours. Like, you can't operate. So here they are using the straw man theory of we're persecuted. When you look at their behaviour, they wanted Russia, and I'd like you to comment, they basically said to Putin, by the way, we're going to stuff you up. We're going to cause that much trouble. We're going to cause so much alarm. They knew that Putin, right or wrong, I'm not commenting on his right or wrong, but if you want to belt the bear with a big stick, the Russian bear with a big stick, please don't be surprised if the Russian bear starts clawing you to pieces. And Putin wasn't going to stand by and let anybody, right or wrong, basically bring the capital of Russia to its knees. So to me, to prove self-fulfilling prophecy, Jason, is they needed to do something so egregious to get the reaction, so then they can run around, look at us, look what's happened in Russia. And I really thank you for your clear, non-emotional take on an organisation that's got teeth. The rank and file are under the spell, but as you mentioned, those at the top of Watchtower, they bear some very damn sharp teeth. And another thing is, I'll just leave it so you can comment, is I was at a convention, I mentioned this privately, is that they mentioned glowingly, we sent whatever it was hundreds of tons of letters, hundreds and hundreds of tons to Moscow, and the postmaster, I think that's the name, I'm not sure. Anyway, that postmaster, the person in control there, was pulling his hair out, and they were all laughing at this convention, 14,000 people laughing, right? This is the point, Jason. How much money does it cost to take away tons and tons and tons of which is effectively mail bombs? That's what they are. They don't blow up, but they're mail bombs. They just disrupt. You've got to get trucks to take it away. Where would the post system have the money in their budget to suddenly take away, I'm assuming, 10 years worth of, even more, worth of letters away? It's physical material that needs to be taken to the dump. I'm sure it's not next door. It's got to be taken away. All of this is a sign of a reckless organisation that behaves like the mafia. So just on that, I'd like to really hear your take on their, what I'll call self-fulfilling prophecy of, we're persecuted, yeah, you bash the bear and then he bites you, oh, wow, okay. and also the cost, not just the cost to people, the medicine, the wills, the government, but the physical cost to the Russian people of removing the vast commercial quantity of basically letter bombs. Could you please just talk to that for a moment?
Well, the best that I can cover on this in basic, simple terms is, imagine if it happened to you. If you're a listener to this program, imagine somebody targeted you and they decided they were going to just send mail to your address to the tune of, let's say, 10,000 pieces of mail a day. What would you do with it? I mean, all you can do is throw it away, but this is costing you money to throw it away. I mean, how many trash bags you got to buy? How many times does the trash man come by to pick up your trash? And while you're waiting for the trash man to come, the mail keeps coming, and it keeps coming, and it keeps coming. And this is the same thing that was happening to the post office folks. This stuff had to be disposed of somehow. And the Russians had no idea, when is this going to stop? When is this mail going to stop? When Rutherford did this to Germany, to Hitler's Germany, Hitler got so angry. I am convinced, just a little side note here, dealing with the whole issue of this letter writing campaign, because it appears Rutherford was the one to start this. Jehovah's Witnesses were not Hitler's original target. They became the target because of Rutherford. If you look at what Rutherford did, see, when Hitler came into power, Hitler's an evil man, wicked man, socialist, whole 9 yards. He took over people's property, from what I understand, and part of the property that he took over belonged to Jehovah's Witnesses. Rutherford didn't like the idea of Jehovah's Witnesses having their property taken. So he writes a letter, a telegram, and this telegram is on the internet. It's in German and in English, and you can read for yourself what he had to say to Hitler. Glowing terms praising the man.
Yes.
When that didn't work to get the property back, Rutherford then changed his tune and started attacking Hitler and using the Jehovah's Witnesses as a battering ram in Germany to push propaganda. And I have, today it's called the Awake magazine. Back then it was called the Golden Age.
That's correct. Yep.
I have Golden Age magazines where, you know, when Jehovah's Witnesses today say, oh, we're not political, we've never been political, I've been thinking about putting together a video. And again, I wanted to just stop doing, I think 20 is enough because of all the subject matter that was covered. But people need to know, because people died in those concentration camps.
Yep.
They need to know why they died. And from what I've been seeing, it appears it was Rutherford that instigated this whole thing. And one of the things was he did this letter writing campaign that flooded Germany's post office. Hitler got so angry about this that, if I got my timeline correct, I want to make sure I don't say anything that's not correct.
Good. Yep, that's good, Jason.
It appears that the very next year, which would have, because he did his letter writing campaign against Germany like in the late part of a particular year. And then the next year that came in is, from what I understand, Jehovah's Witnesses started being taken to the concentration camps because Hitler saw them as a nuisance because of Rutherford. Again, the rank and file, the average member, did not know they were being used as pawns. But I could show you some of these Golden Age magazines where they had hand-drawn pictures. One of the pictures was a picture of Adolf Hitler coming out of the house of a prostitute.
Yes. Wow. Yes, great.
In these pictures, whenever they wanted to portray someone as evil, they would portray the person either holding a cross or having a cross on their clothing, or usually have a cross somewhere on them. And when you see this, it's so political, it's so propaganda. And when people say the Jehovah's Witnesses weren't political, I'm like, well, could you explain this?
Yeah.
Could you explain this? Because it's in your own magazines.
Jason,
Now,
could I just make one little point there?
Yes, sir.
Because I've been to the concentration camps because my wife is Polish, so I have a lot. I've really dug a lot into that. I just want to add just a little point for you. There is when Rutherford, and I'll just go back, you can comment on that as well. When Rutherford sends that telegram, I should say, he says, and I'm paraphrasing, and you may know it clearer than me, he basically says, we empathise with you of basically the Jewish problem, and that Jewish businessmen have, whatever it was, were downtrodden the world. So it's anti-Semitic in the extreme. He is saying to Hitler, look, well, we agree with you on the problem of the Jews. That's number one. So I'll get you to talk on that. But one thing which I'm sure you know is that when this is something that Jehovah's Witnesses really don't tell people, and I know this is fact, is when a Jewish person was sent to Auschwitz concentration camp, Birkenau, you're going there to die. Okay, you're going there to die. So most people went into Auschwitz, and within a day or two or whatever, they were dead. Okay, now this is the thing, Jason, which I'm sure you are aware of, but I just want to mention this from my research. Did you know that didn't apply to Jehovah's Witnesses? What actually happened is no Jehovah's Witness got sent straight to the gas chamber. There is actually a letter of release. Are you ready for this? There's a letter of release. You go into Auschwitz-Birkenau as a Bible student. They came to you and they said, listen, sir, just sign this. You're no longer a Jehovah's Witness. You're free to go. That never happened to a Jew. That never happened to a homosexual. That never happened to a gypsy. That never happened to a Pole. So the fact of the matter is, was one of the most evil men that ever lived. He gave them, there was no Jew that could go, oh, sign, I won't be Jewish anymore. So the point was that even at that moment, Jehovah's Witnesses or Bible students or combination of both, they were not marked for death. They basically said, you can leave. Now, that is very important because I have a book here, and sorry to butt in there, but this is so important. I have a book in my keeping, which is a very, very limited edition. Most Jehovah's Witnesses have never got it. It's called The Sword and the Spirit, and it is a book specifically produced by Watchtower for the Holocaust Museum and an exhibition in New York. The simple fact is this, that the Jew that was taken to Auschwitz, for instance, they were a dead man or woman. End of story. Jehovah's Witnesses were not. So the point is, when Rutherford, my point is, killing them 6 million Jews. Gypsies never had a choice. Homosexuals never had a choice. You went there and you were going to die. So what it shows is that even at the last minute, you sign that and you go. This is incredible. This persecution, as you said, came from Rutherford once again saying, I don't care what happens to my parishioners. Don't you touch my beloved property. And I think that is you should. I encourage you, Jason, to make these videos, search that out. There's documents that prove what I'm saying. Most witnesses don't know that. It was literally one signature and you left Auschwitz. No other group that ever went there had that option. It shows that Jehovah's Witnesses were not marked for death. Thank you, Jason, if you can just talk on that. Thank you, mate.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I've found the same thing. And it is sad that these members many of them were so sold out to the group that they wouldn't sign. It's just sad because, again, this is one of the reasons why I do the videos. I want people to be free. Jesus says, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. There's not a Jehovah's Witness, if you're going to be honest with yourself, that can say that the Watchtower's yoke. A yoke, by the way, is what you put around a horse to help pull something.
Yes.
Okay? Nobody can say that the Watchtower's yoke is easy. All the meetings you got to go to, underlining things, and you got to participate in this. Now you got to appear on Zoom, and as I was listening to 6 screens, you got to have your camera on, you got to be dressed up, you better be shaved. You better... What is this? Yeah. Nobody can say that this is a light yoke. And then on top of that, if your family member leaves, you can't speak to them anymore. Is that a light yoke?
No.
That ain't the yoke that Jesus came to give us. No. And I'm like, well, I'm nobody. I tell you, I am nobody. I am nobody important. I just see a need, and I want to reach out and help. And sometimes I get my hand slapped. So I get the hand slapped away. I've helped even some XJWs. I've helped some XJWs. They received the help. I never asked for anything in return. Usually, I spend money on my own pocket. I never asked them for anything. I've had to drive out of town sometime to help people. Sometimes going through a child custody case and so forth. I try to help them out. Once they're helped out, sometimes they just go on their way and I never hear from them again. I'm like, well, at least they're better off now than they were when they ran into me the first time and asked for help. And I just leave them in the hands of Jesus.
Well, we're very grateful, Jason. We are very, very grateful for you, because the reality is that why Watchtower in many cases wins, and what we've seen, Rick's been talking about this for nearly 20 years, and I've been at it for about the same time, is that what they're masters of, and you've really, in a really systematic and a clear way, shown that they are an organisation who are masters at terrorising people. And that situation in Russia is collateral. Basically, they don't like it. It's a mega death cult, and that is that the far right. I know in the States you're going through these terrible times at the moment. Is the idea of othering everybody unless you're white? Well, you deserve to die, or that kind of extremist view, and it's extremist. Just because you're a conscientious objector and you won't put on a uniform or you don't pick up a gun, well, there's a lot of ways to kill people. And one of them, as we all know, is that you instill so much fear that a person cannot function. And you know what? That's the best torture. If someone gets shot, they're dead. That's terrible. But if you can keep them alive and torture them, that's sadistic. Now, what Watchtower is they are masters, as you brought out, in applying maximum psychological and emotional pressure. That's what they're brilliant at. And for the millions, there is now, officially, there is more ex-Jehovah's Witness than active Jehovah's Witnesses. And that's fact, and the Watchtower acknowledges that. But you know what? For all of the people that are out, Jason, we're traumatized. So when someone like you say, you're very humble, and we love that, and I love that, and that's why I've got so much respect for you, and we all do, is that it takes ordinary people to speak up. That's when we're powerful. There's not too many extraordinary people, and if they are, they're usually so self-absorbed that they're not able to look past their own brilliance to actually go, hang on. As I said, when you look at like this COVID situation, okay, it's terrible. But the point is, you know what? We've got 8. Sorry, go for it. Who's that? Hello?
Yeah.
Repeat that again?
I just wanted to see if Rick was there.
No, Rick's not there. No, we're in the middle of an interview.
This is David in Virginia. I don't know if Don got hit by that tornado down there in Florida or not.
Right.
But I could not get him on the phone in the last 2 hours. And there was 2 tornadoes in his area, and I don't know if he got hit.
Thank you for telling us that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very
So
much. We will. I mean,
I'm going to give him a call to see if he was okay tomorrow.
Okay, absolutely. We will do that. Thank you for giving us the heads up. Thank you, my brother. Thank you. So, Rick, there's been a tornado, and you know who to ring. So, yep, thank you for the heads up. Now, I'm getting back to the interview. Jason, can I just have you back online? Thank you.
Yes, sir. I'm back.
Thank you, Jason. Yes, Jason, as you were saying.
Well, when you mentioned that about them being the masters of fear, it brought me to my King James Bible. And a very powerful couple of verses that I just want to quote here dealing with
Certainly,
this.
go for it.
It explains why Jesus came. It's in Hebrews chapter 2, verse 14 and 15. It says, "For as much then as the children are partakers of flesh and blood, he also himself likewise took part in the same, that through death he might destroy him that had the power of death, that is, the devil, and deliver them who through fear of death were subject all their lifetime to bondage." Let me read that verse 15.
Yep.
"And deliver them who through fear of death were all their lifetime subject to bondage."
Yeah.
Jesus came to deliver those and free those who are trapped in cults like Watchtower, who will put people in the bondage and use the fear of death to do it. That's what their Armageddon teaching is all about. Either you obey the teachings or you die at Armageddon.
Yep.
Isn't that what it is?
Yep.
I'm trying to bring them to the Jesus of my King James Bible that says, look, I died on the cross for you so that you wouldn't have to go through the bondage that you're in. You're not getting any closer to Jesus by going door to door with a magazine. Do you really think, if you're a Jehovah's Witness and you're listening, I'm not yelling at you. I'm not mad at you. I don't hate you. I care enough to have done 30 years of research to try to reach people.
Yeah.
On the day of judgment, God is not going to ask, how many magazines did you distribute?
Are you sure? No, I'm sorry. That's my sense of humor. Sorry, Jason.
It's fine. It's fine. I'm really wanting them to think this through. Is there really anything that we can do that's going to top what Jesus did on that cross?
Yeah.
I want people to be free. Free to enjoy their life. We were given this life to enjoy it, not to live.
We were, absolutely. Absolutely we were. Yeah. Yeah.
We only get one, and you don't get a reset button.
Yes,
if you screw it up, you don't get to come back a second time and redo it.
No, we don't. No. Nope.
It breaks my heart. I've heard from ex-JWs who had spent 30 years, 40 years, 50 years in that group, and then finally woke up, and they look back over their life.
Yes.
And go, my life is gone. They
yes,
my life
that's correct.
There are people who had careers. They had dreams. They had goals before they joined the Watchtower Jehovah's Witness group. And the Watchtower, no, the Armageddon's right around the corner. You're about to set all those dreams aside. 60 years later, Armageddon still ain't here. It still ain't here. Not even on the horizon. And your life is done. The hourglass is nearly full on the bottom. And you got nothing to show for it. Not even the old magazines are going to help you because they won't even read them.
No. And what's interesting, Jason, is what's interesting in that process is that it's nearly every faith has, in a sense, there's a celebration of birth. Okay. The joy of birth of somebody, of a child, and then there is the celebration of a life that has been lived in accordance with anyone's faith. That's pretty much the style of every single belief system in the world, no matter what its flavour. Jehovah's Witnesses are the only ones that I know. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm certainly not saying I've studied every single faith in the whole wide world, but there's no birthdays because that would bring too much attention to yourself, heaven forbid. Okay, so that's a non-event. And then when you die, a Jehovah's Witness funeral is unless you happen to be one of the privileged few that happen to be in the higher echelons of the organisation, it's probably about 3 minutes about the person. You know, John Smith lived in Boydie, Idaho. He had 2 kids, and then it's on to divorce statistics and, you know, woe and whatever and end time prophecy, and that's it. There's no celebration of the person's life. Now, when you think about this, Jason, those that come out, I know a couple, though, they left the organisation in their 70s, actually retired, and they came out. And their regret was, our life is gone. And, of course, now they're trying their very best to enjoy the time that they've got. And, you know, they're healthy, you know, that's wonderful. But the Watchtower it's a master in basically taking the ripe fruit of life and then squeezing all of the vitality out of those ones. And when you pulp, you throw it away and you get another orange. You know, it is sociopathic in its behaviour. And when you think about it, any organisation that looks at the news reports and there's an atrocity wherever, and there's this joy that 1 million people died in Rwanda, you know, or the attacks of 9/11, or bushfires in Australia, or, you know, COVID-19, there's, you know, this is, it is the lust for death, destruction, mayhem and suffering, which is the precursor to 99.99% of the men, women and children on the planet being put to the sword so that Jehovah's Witnesses inherit a paradise is the most really atheistic, non-theist approach of any group in the world. And, you know, when you have a central belief system, Jason, that is, when I'm looking around, I remember going witnessing, going from door to door, and someone would say no to you, and the person next to you go, they've got their paradise now, but their comeuppance is coming. And you sort of laugh about it, but you think, now, I'm actually angry that another man or a woman or a family is enjoying the sunshine, the light, having good friendship and relationships with their next door neighbours, and I'm wishing death on them because they don't agree with my version of the Bible, and that, well, my God's going to kill you. I mean, that mindset is so unhealthy, and that's why Jehovah's Witnesses have the highest rate of suicide, the highest rates of anxiety, the highest rates of mental illness of any organisation in the world, period, Jason. So when you and I and Rick and all of us, when we spend our resources and we help one person, you know what? We are the overcomers. We are the ones that are saying to this colossal sociopathic organisation, you know what? Every life matters. And we, no matter whether we believe or don't believe, I mean, I'm a Christian, of course, but others don't. But the point is, when we do that, that's the highest principle and vibration of the human being. If you see someone suffering, do you not want to help them? So, Jason, what you're doing is don't stop. We love what you're doing, and we appreciate it because this organisation is unique. It's the most well-funded, the most disciplined, in basically squeezing life's juice out of humanity, and then who is left? A pulp of a human being. And I think that what you're doing is so essential. Thank you, Jason. I just want to say that. So, as you were saying, Jason.
Well, I thank you for the kind words. Again, I just just hope that people are being helped by the videos. That's really been.
Oh, they are. They are, Jason.
What I would like to happen is this. I would love to somehow get the wheels rolling to do something that would be a blessing for the whole XJW community. The Watchtower
What have you got in
organization.
mind?
The Watchtower organization is a corporation. It is the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society Incorporated. They're a corporation. They run the Jehovah's Witness group like it's a business. They don't call their church a church. They call it a hall. They don't call their preaching. They call it talks. You know, they don't call their Bible a Bible. They call it scripture. Or they have different names. They're not using religious terms. They're using business terms for their operations, for the most part, from what I can see. They have their people keep records of how many hours they're working. It's like you're punching a time card, but you're never getting paid.
That is correct, yes.
But you're working for a corporation, a multi-billion-dollar corporation that operates like a business. They keep track of. Could you imagine? Stop and think about this. There's a lot of XJWs out there that are hurting financially right now.
Yep.
Could you imagine whatever the minimum wage is in your country?
Yes.
If you got minimum wage for every hour that you spent, because they keep track of all your stuff, the headquarters has it. If you got minimum wage for every hour you spent, that you have written down on your card, that you on this day you spent this many hours, this day you spent this many hours, could you imagine how much money would go into the pockets of XJWs from this billion-dollar corporation?
Yes.
Because they're using these people as free labor to build their buildings, to maintain their buildings, and they don't pay them. Yet they operate like a corporation. So why don't the XJW community find some lawyers that will sue them?
Yes.
On a couple of levels. Sue them for infringing on your constitutional right to be able to leave a religion without being punished.
Absolutely.
Sue them for unpaid labor that you did. You kept time records. Pay me.
Yeah.
You lied to me as an organization. You lied to me about the Bible. You lied to me about Jesus. You lied to me about outsiders. Said that all the outsiders are evil and demonic and all this. And then you step on the outside. They're not evil. They're not demonic. No. These are great people out here.
Yes.
They need, again, I've never been a Jehovah's Witness. I can't do it. But the people who are in situations where their family won't speak to them, sue the Watchtower.
I agree.
Sue the Watchtower. Not only New York, Pennsylvania. They're the ones that run it. Sue the big boys. Sue the big guys. They got the money.
Yep. Yes.
What do you got to lose? What the XJW, if you're listening, what do you got to lose to try? You got a lot to gain. Because you see, people who sue them over this child sexual abuse, what happens?
Yes.
They pay. They pay, and they pay big, don't they?
Yes, they do. Yep.
What would happen if 2 million, 3 million, 5 million, 10 million XJWs sued them and said, we want to be paid for the hours we work for your corporation, and you never paid us?
That's
you
correct.
Owe us. You're a corporation. You owe us. We worked for you, and you owe us money. Imagine the money that would flow into the XJW community and get people up on their feet.
Well, Jason, the thing that I became a ex-Jehovah's Witness because of the pedophile issue, and I have been very active, and I am very active in terms of my interaction with the government here in Australia and the departments dealing with child protection. And that is, as you know, we had a royal commission in Australia, and the Jehovah's Witnesses have absolutely refused to cooperate, absolutely refused. I spoke to a government department that looks after that scheme. I spoke to them this week. I spoke to them, and they said, no, they're not. No, they're not. But they've still got an opportunity to join, but at the moment the answer is no. My gut feeling, Rick's gut feeling, all activists, we feel that they won't. They believe that their legal dream team will, they'll try to take it to the highest courts in the land to get out of this. But the point is they're not compliant. But this is feeding back into this. What I would like to see, and we'd all like to see, is at the very least is that, and I can't speak for the United States, but in Australia they have a charitable status, which means they do not pay tax. Now, if, I'm not saying that's on the cards, but if they lost that and they were viewed as a corporation, which they are, because they don't offer, like any charity, doesn't matter whether it's religious or not, they provide clothes, shoes, education, whatever it happens to be, some community engagement. Now, I'm involved in Rotary, a wonderful non-for-profit out of the United States, and I'm involved heavily in Australia in Rotary International. It's a community engagement. Jehovah's, you check the checklist of what a charity is, it doesn't give anything. It doesn't even give one bowl of soup, not one shirt, not one pair of shoes, nothing. Okay, it only brings in members to its organisation. That's not a charity. You're allowed to be that, but you don't deserve to not pay tax. You could be a corporation. Now, if, Jason, we could get them to be taken off the charity list and they be viewed as a corporation, that's okay. I'm not calling for Jehovah's Witnesses to be banned. I don't think that works. But then, Jason, what you're saying, if they're a corporation, right, not a charity, and, for instance, like my local Kingdom Hall, the one I used to go to, got sold for 1.5 million Australian. That's still, 1.2 million US. That is, as they say, that's a lot of bananas. That's a lot of money that was donated free of charge. And, that's a lot of money. So the point would be that we would be able to say, look, hang on, I built that. You're a corporation. You just made $1 million US, $1.2 million US, 1.5 million Australian. I worked on it for 2 weeks. You owe me minimum wages as a labourer or a bricklayer or a carpenter or so forth. You owe me. You can't just, I donated this time, not for it to be on-sold so you could do what you wanted. No, it's for a place of worship. And they have no regard. So, Jason, I think we have to fight them as a legal corporation. We've got to stop looking at them as a religion. They're not a religion. It's the top end is not a religion. It's a multimedia property. Like for instance, the buildings in New York. There was not one bowl of soup that got given out to anybody. It was as big as Rupert Murdoch's company, bigger in terms of printing. It's like saying, well, the New York Times is a charity. No, it's not. It prints newspapers. So Watchtower was bigger than them. Nobody printed as much as these people. So, like you said, the labour laws, we need to get labour experts. I don't know what the state, what you call them in the United States, but lawyers that deal with labour hire, unions, other people like that, to say, well, the fact is this, that we're stakeholders. Like you got the people that were donating, pioneers were donating 100 hours a month or 120 hours. That means they couldn't even get sufficient money to pay their own bills. It wasn't just, half an hour a month, handing out some... No, this was and they call it a spiritual career. So there is an acknowledgement that there is a career going on for a corporation. So if that's the case, why should there be billions in assets going and disappearing into the ether if in fact no one's going to be compensated? You pay your own way. So look, that's a really important cry for gathering us together, and I'm sure Rick and all of us would love to, come together and go, what can we do? Who can we get that will champion that cause, Jason? Absolutely spot on.
And one more thing, too, very important from a legal standpoint. Do not settle for a class action lawsuit. And here's why.
Why is that, Jason?
If you get 1 million XJWs in a class action lawsuit, the Watchtower is $1 billion corporation. So they'll just take a lump sum of money and say, here, take this, and they wouldn't even feel it. Yeah. But if each one sued them individually, it's going to hit them harder because they're going to have to pay individually large sums of money rather than throwing one larger sum of money at everybody. Because in those cases, usually the lawyer ends up getting a third of the money anyway, and then they're not going to get the money in the class action. No. So they need to sue them individually for the work you did, the time you spent, and let them try to destroy those documents and see what the government does. Mainly when the government gets on their case about it. Let them try, because it's not going to take too much to get some of these governments triggered already, because you saw what they did in England that I talked about in my video series about the child molestation issue.
Yes,
when it came out over there.
Yes. Absolutely.
The leadership of witnesses told the elders to destroy the documents and not turn them over.
Yes.
The government told them to turn them over. Okay?
Yes. Yes. Oh.
You need to contact the people in the legal departments of your particular country and let them know. I worked for this place. They call themselves the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society Incorporated. One of their branches is called the Jehovah's Witnesses. You were in the group. You worked. You labored for them. You kept a time card. They have your time cards. They never paid you. They owe you money. If you're an XJW, again, what you got to lose? To try. Find a lawyer that'll take the case. What you got to lose? You got a lot to gain. I would love to see the XJW community be as wealthy as the Watchtower.
Oh, absolutely.
Where the XJW community's wealth goes up and the Watchtower's wealth goes down. They won't be able to build their big centers and all that stuff because they'll be humbled. That's the only way. I'm telling you, changing policies is not going to do it because they've already put in writing in their book, Insight on the Scriptures, written like a dictionary, the letter L, you'll find the word lie. Their definition of lie, according to their own book, says lying generally means not telling the truth to one who is entitled to know the truth.
Yes, I know. Yes.
And then it says, although malicious lying is definitely condemned in the Bible, that doesn't mean that one is under obligation to divulge truthful information to those who are not entitled to it. Is there something playing in the background?
Yeah, no, it's not me. So, no, I don't know what's happening in there. Right. We're getting an echo. I don't know what's happening. Are you there, Jason?
I'm here.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Is that echo gone?
Yes, it's good.
Oh, great. That's fantastic. Yeah, so yes, you're talking about the definition of Watchtower lies. It's just ridiculous, isn't it? It's amoral.
Yes. They said, although malicious lying is definitely condemned in the Bible, that doesn't mean that one is under obligation to divulge truthful information to those that are not entitled to it.
That's correct.
To them, there's two groups of people, those who are entitled to know the truth and those who are not. So if they came out with a policy tomorrow and said, okay, we're not going to be doing the shunning anymore, that's just words, folks.
That's correct. Yes.
They're going to keep right on doing what they're doing.
That's
right. So you need to hit them in the one area that I found that made them change. Some people don't even know, who are XJWs and JWs, didn't know that in the past, Jehovah's Witnesses used to sell their literature here in America.
Oh, really?
I have received comments from people and messages from people calling me a liar when I said that Jehovah's Witnesses used to sell their literature.
They didn't know that. Wow.
They didn't know. And the thing that made them stop selling the literature was there was a court case that took place with a TV preacher named Jimmy Swaggart.
Yes.
He was very popular in his day, and he was selling his books, he was selling his music, and he wasn't paying any taxes. And he was labeling himself and his ministry as a nonprofit. The Watchtower interjected themselves into his court case because they knew that if he lost the case, they might be the ones the government comes after next for not paying taxes.
Right.
Because from the time of Russell all the way through the 1980s, they sold their literature and didn't have to pay any taxes on it. That's part of how they became such a rich organization before they started getting big time into the real estate.
Right.
And the thing that made them stop is Jimmy Swaggart lost his case.
Yes.
He lost his case, and they knew, we better do something, because if we keep selling the literature and not paying taxes, the government's going to come after them, so they stopped selling the literature. I have, again, a large library of Watchtower publications, and you can see on the inside the prices. Back in the days of Rutherford, Jehovah's Witnesses, you'd know a Jehovah's Witness when they were coming because they had these bags that they would wear. And the bag would have the name of the magazine that they're selling and how much it cost. If it was Watchtower, it would say Watchtower announcing the theocratic kingdom and then the price. If it was the Awake magazine, it would say Awake and then the price. If it was Consolation, which was the name of the Awake magazine before they called it Awake, it would say Consolation and the price. I mean, it's all there.
Jason.
But again, go ahead.
Hi, this is Apostle Babe Linda James.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
Hello,
and
Linda Jane. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really, really good.
Fantastic.
I'm chiming in because I'm agreeing with Jason. He's absolutely correct as far as going way back. Have you, Jason, ever had a chance to read any of the transcripts for any of their court cases?
In the past, I had some court cases, and to be honest with you, I don't know what I did with them. But I did have some court cases with, Russell and so forth. But I have lost track of quite a bit over time.
Right. So you are totally correct. They have played this game since day one. Since Russell got Rutherford in the game, Rutherford helped Russell put all of his money into the corporation so that his wife would not receive any of the money when they had their separation or divorce.
You're exactly right.
So this religion is a front. It's simply a front for this corporation. So each time they go into court, they're doing this whole art of diversion, theocratic warfare, which means we can lie to people who are not entitled to know the truth. And the end justifies the means in the whole 9 yards. And they do, numerous times. And you can read it in the transcripts. But what happens is when somebody is baptized, they become a member in the form of a contract. It's a verbal contract, but they have no clue they're actually signing up for this contract. These rules or whatever they've established with the members all get enforced by holding people accountable to their commitment. You know, they made it publicly, blah, blah, blah. But when they go into court and they bring up the terminology of confidential, clergy-tenant privilege, courts just are like, oh, no, we don't want to touch that. No, we don't. You know, they've got the definition that churches are able to do their own internal investigation. They are considered like governments of their own, and any Jehovah's Witness knows our organization is considered theocratic government, meaning a government ruled by God. How to get to this corporation seems very logical. I don't know how anybody would get past that. They just straight up lie in court. They just straight up lie, you know. And the transcripts. So we really need to have somebody that knows their routine, knows the way they work, to counteract them. at their own
Linda,
game.
Linda Jane? It's
Yes.
Matt.
Hi,
Yeah,
Matt.
how are you, my friend? To both you, to Jason and yourself, you've really made a really important point because, Jason, what Linda Jane is saying is correct. When you get baptized, they say you make a private dedication to God. That's private, and then there's a public confirmation of that, right? And so what is really not known to the rank and file is when you stand up in front of a convention of people that could be various sizes. Usually they're large scale, so you've got 1,000 people, right? And the person says, they read out the affirmation, okay? Do you accept Jane Smith, John Smith, that, and you will see there's the Bible, so forth, and then it will be the visible organisation. When you say yes, here, you know, and
In
so forth.
association with.
That's
Yes.
correct. That's correct. What they are doing, which is incredible, is they are trying to get everybody to see that Jason or Linda or Matt, you publicly said, I understood the bylaws of this corporation, right? So I knew, so help me God, and in front of all these witnesses that I knew what I was. What Linda's saying is very true. Now, this is the thing I would like to bring in with Linda, and this is, I think, a wonderful opportunity, is this. And I can't speak for the United States, I can only speak for here in Australia. When I got baptised, I was an oldie, and my mother said to me, bless her, and I mean, I love Mum even though she doesn't talk to me, I love her. She said to me, Matthew, when are you going to make a stand for Jehovah? I was 15 years old, which in Jehovah's Witness language, that's bloody old, okay? 15,
yes,
like you're almost a Methuselah at 15, right? When I got baptised, there was a young girl beside me, right, dressed like a little angel, and she was the tender years of 10. Okay, now, what I'm saying about common law in Australia, a 10-year-old or a 15-year-old is not allowed to sign legal documents. They're a child, right? They're a child, even a 17-year-old. My point is, Linda and Jason, on this is, the point is, it's only a matter of time that you have a corporation that puts a 10-year-old up, or an 11-year-old or a 15-year-old up, and says, oh, so help me God, the Holy Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of Pennsylvania, I understand its bylaws and I will, take my medicine if I disagree. It's only a matter of time until a court says, well, Jason, Lisa, Matthew, at 10, 11, 12, 13, 15 years of age, had absolutely no legal ability to sign or verbally agree to a document that says, a verbal document that says that Jason, Matthew, Lisa will never, ever, ever, so help me God, ever disagree with the bylaws of this corporate. Nobody's going to accept it, not as a child. And I think this is an avenue in which we really need the best legal constitutional advice in the United States, Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand, the common law countries at least, to go, how do we get a 10-year-old that says, I will never agree, I'll never disagree? What would you even know? You haven't even finished high school. You wouldn't, you're a child, and scientifically, this is fact, scientifically, we know that a person's brain does not even stop developing until now. We're talking about, I think, in boys, correct me if I'm wrong, up to 24, 25 years of age, girls that are around about 23. So what we're saying is our brain hasn't even formed, let alone a damn 10-year-old. So to me, I get wild about this, because then when someone gets to whatever, 20, I was 21 when I started exiting, I'm like, my brain was starting to, develop, and you're going, what am I dealing with here? So to me, Jason and Linda, this issue has to be viewed from a legal point of view. What is that? They're trying to say we sign documents. A 10-year-old can't sign legal documents, and they cannot be binding. So I'd like to hear both of your opinion on that, guys, Jason or Linda.
Well, here's the way it looks. I didn't mean to cut you off, Linda. If you want to go first, you go ahead.
I also put a link under your video about Russia with my playlist regarding Russia.
Okay.
And it shows Philip Brumley rubbing elbows with political members, requesting for the human rights to assist them in their religious rights. They are in with the government by way of the European OSCE. If you get a chance, Jason, please look that over. I know you're very busy, but there's a lot of confirmation that I put together in my playlist of these things for the Russian situation. And they did that whole letter. I just need to let you talk. I hate seeing my people be abused this way. I just hate it. Hate it. You know?
The way it looks to me, and again, as an outsider who's never been a Jehovah's Witness, the way it looks to me, we have a corporation, multi-billion dollar corporation, that operates like a corporation, and the members thinks it's a religion.
Mm-hmm.
Now, before they join the religion, they have to answer a whole bunch of questions, right? Isn't there a whole bunch of questions that they have to agree to?
That's correct. Yes, absolutely you do. Yes, that's before you can become a member, you must satisfy them that you understand the bylaws and the rules of the club. Absolutely.
So the questions is like the job application, and rather than having them sign it, the actual signing of the agreement is the baptism itself.
Mm-hmm. That's where the contract is happening.
Right.
That's exactly where it's verbal confirmation.
One thing I tell people, I'm a born-again Christian, and I believe people have a right to worship what they want. I can't tell anybody who to worship. I wouldn't try to tell somebody who to worship. I prefer to become a Christian, but I can't make somebody do it. But all I ask is this. Before somebody goes and joins a group, they should be told up front what's expected of them.
Yeah.
Don't pretend to be a Christian religion to lure the person through the door. And then once they get in, you keep them in through fear. That's not Christianity.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That is not Christianity. Now, you mentioned earlier about the courts and them lying in court. I'm not sure if you guys saw my video that's part of the Hidden from Jehovah's Witness series. It's called the Watchtower's Other Secret Book. Everybody knows about the Shepherd, the Flock of God book. That's old news. But there's another book that is given to Jehovah's Witnesses that are going through child custody cases. If you
I didn't know that one. No.
Oh, yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
This book, the Jehovah's Witness lawyers have been through so many child custody cases. They know every single question that's ever going to be asked. So those questions appear in the book.
Right.
When a Jehovah's Witness is going through a child custody case, they can request that book, and before the case even starts, they know every question that's going to come, and they can make up answers. But remember, to them, lying means not telling the truth to those who are entitled to know. They don't feel that judge is entitled to know the truth.
No.
Right. If everyone else is worldly and of the devil, of course, they are not entitled.
So in
Jason, do you have I'm just sorry, do you have this? I was not I was not aware of that. I'm aware of other books, but I wasn't actually aware of that one. Is there?
I'll get it to you,
pardon?
honey. I'll get it to you.
Thank
There's 4
you.
different versions of it.
Sure, Jason. But
There's 4
yeah, I
different
can do
versions.
that.
Do you have all 4?
Excuse me?
There's 4 different versions of the book. Do you have all 4? If not, I can get them to you.
Then
Yeah,
let's have Jason give it to you.
Yeah, give me a way to reach you off the air. I'll get you all 4 books. I can just email them to you, and you'll have access to all 4. And what the book is designed to do, in simple terms, for those of you who are listening or out there didn't know about this, the book is designed to teach the Jehovah's Witness to lie under oath about what their real beliefs are.
Mm-hmm.
In one of the books, I believe it mentions something about, if your child's in need of a, blood transfusion, some kind of medical thing, that you can actually talk to your ex-JW partner, mate about the issues. To tell the court, you're actually able to talk to your ex-JW spouse about your child. They can't do that. Do that. In the video, I actually show a court case, a child custody case, where there's a Jehovah's Witness woman and her ex-Jehovah's Witness husband. And I show her using this theocratic war strategy or theocratic tact or whatever term they want to use for it. And it got to the point where the judge got so angry because she wouldn't answer the questions directly, he just snapped. Mm-hmm. Just snapped at her. Because the lawyer kept asking, if your son needed a blood transfusion, can you see yourself giving him a blood transfusion? And she kept dancing around it, and the judge just had enough. It's yes or no. And finally she said, I try to show people, if you're going through a child custody case against a Jehovah's Witness, you had better get a lawyer that knows the watchtower, or the watchtower is going to run all over that guy or that lady.
Yes.
Because they're not afraid to lie in court. They're not afraid to lie in court. And one of the things that they will do, one of the things that the lawyer for the Jehovah's Witnesses will do right at the beginning of the case is she will tell the judge, or he will tell the judge, Your Honor, this case should only be about which one of these 2 parents are best for this child, and religion should be taken off the table. If the judge falls for that, and most of them do, you've lost the case. Yeah. Because if you can't tell that judge what the watchtower teaches these kids about this fellowship and about Armageddon, about all this stuff, if you're not allowed to say anything about that, you're not going to win. The lawyer for the husband who had left, who was a Roman Catholic, he was never Jehovah's Witness. His wife joined. They used to both be Catholics, I understand. She left the Catholic Church, became Jehovah's Witness. He stayed a Catholic. The lawyer was just beside himself. He's trying to mention things like, would you allow your child to watch a movie like The Wizard of Oz? And the Jehovah's Witness lawyer said, objection. Mm-hmm. He said, what do you object for? What do you object for? She says, because he's trying to bring up religion. I'm
sorry. The attempt is to wear them down and to get them frustrated. That's the attempt. And it really works well.
So I'm wanting people to be informed about these things. And there's a 20-part video series on YouTube called Hidden from Jehovah's Witnesses. I cover a number of different topics. Just trying to reach people, trying to help people from the child sex abuse issue, video number 1. Video number 2, I deal with where the Jehovah's Witness Bible version came from. It'll shock you. It's ties to the occult. Video number 3, I deal with 1914 and 1975, and I put on the screen the actual Watchtower publications, the actual speeches that they gave in full. I don't cut them. I play the whole thing. That way nobody can say I lied or I edited anything. I put the whole speeches up there. Even interviews that they did with the press, I put that on there too. Because I remember one of their assemblies recently, they sort of whitewashed 1975. I wanted the people to see what they actually did.
But they gaslighted us. They gaslighted us. Yes.
Yeah.
Jason. I'm sorry, yes, sir.
Sorry, Jason. Sorry, Linda. We are coming to the end of my program, so I just want to make sure that I don't run over time. I'm very grateful for you, Jason. It has been a absolute and utter privilege to have you on the program. Thank you, Linda, for also coming along and enjoying this, having this wonderful group discussion. Jason, you are somebody that has not just informed us, but you've encouraged us, and you are proof undeniable of Watchtower's lies, and that is, as you mentioned, that non-Jehovah's Witnesses are terrible people, and they've got little horns and they're ready to do terrible things to us. The fact of the matter is that you're a person with integrity, you're a person with great faith, and you are more than just a person that's put videos up and informed us. You're a person that incites us. And, the fact is that this is one of the greatest human rights violations in the 20th and 21st century. I don't think anybody compares to what this organisation has done. So I really mean this. Thank you in the time that I've got left for coming on the program, Jason. You are such a busy person. I know you've got, 6 other things going at the same time. I really, really appreciate you coming on, being on my program. It's actually been a highlight of all of the times that I've been on the 6 screens, and the opportunity that Rick's given me. This is a highlight of the 6 months that I've been on 6 screens. To have you on the program, it has been thoroughly informative. I know that everybody would like to thank you very much. I'm sure Linda Jane feels exactly the same way. You are an amazing, loving Christian man, and we genuinely appreciate everything you're doing. And please continue making the videos, and also when this COVID thing, whenever it ends, I will be in the United States, and it would certainly be my pleasure to meet up with you and to discuss how we can go about dismantling Watchtower brick by brick. So, on the closing note, before Rick goes on to the next program, thank you very much, and genuinely God bless you for your work, your life-saving work, and we love you and appreciate you, and I'm sure Linda Jane feels exactly the same way. If you've got any closing words, Linda Jane, please, I encourage you to direct them to Jason and the work that he's doing. Linda Jane, certainly you can, I'd love you to take the floor just before I close.
Thank you. This is Apostle Babe Linda James. Jason, I thank you so much for being an ally for us, for all the homework that you've done and all the prayers that you've made, and the way that you bring things to our attention that we would not ordinarily get to because of the isolation we were raised in. You open our eyes in such a way that really serves us, and I appreciate you deeply. If at all possible, if you could be a guest with Matt a few more times, I would be grateful. And if I'm going to message under your Russian video and give you my email, and I would really appreciate those. Thank you so much. And I will get them to Matt. I will get them to Matt.
Okay, thank you. And I want to thank Rick for his 6 Screens network and allowing me to come on. I want to thank you, Matt, for also allowing me to come on to your program today.
My pleasure.
I'm also a singer-songwriter as well. I'm a singer-songwriter. I have a music site, jasonzelda.com. I do all my original music, and I put a lot of my music up there. So if anybody wants to check it out, feel free to check it out, jasonzelda.com. And
you are very talented
again,
that way, too.
What's that?
You are very talented that way, too. I've seen your work. Beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. And thanks again for allowing me to come on. And you guys will be in my prayers. I pray that you guys will keep me in your prayers as well.
We will. Absolutely. Thank you. I would like to say thank you to Rick for once again the incredible privilege, and I mean this has changed my life. Thank you, Rick. You've copped a lot of heat over. Yep, you've copped a lot of heat, but thank you. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. It's been an absolute blessing to be even associated with you. I'm very proud of being on the 6 Screens. Thank you for everything you do, and I am very grateful for the opportunity you've given me from Australia to speak to you and to all my my friends. You've really become true friends over this time period, and I'm genuinely moved by everybody that joins in regularly. So thank you very much, and I hope that this incredible opportunity that I've had to interview Jason Zelda has been as encouraging and as uplifting to me as it has to all of you, and I hope that we're able to really do something out of this. And what an ally, as Linda Jane said, what an ally Jason Zelda is a man of conviction and a godly man at that. So I just want to sign off and say thank you very much. Thank you, Jason Zelda. Thank you, Linda Jane, and thank you to you. Thank you very much. God bless you all, and God willing, I'll be back in a fortnight's time. Thank you, Rick, and thank you to all of everybody there in the sixth screen. Thank you very much.
Well, there you go. My goodness gracious. Great job. I mean, Zelda Jason did a fantastic job. He's going to be coming on next week. He's going to be on the six screens, JW World News, a little earlier. That'll be somewhere around 8 p.m. New York time next Saturday night. So by all means, join us then. Thank you, Jason. And all you guys, really a great program. One of the best we've had on here. So keep waving that flag of victory. On my world.